It's very common for people to feel anxious and confused about the idea of when I go through a really significant shift at the end of my Kundalini journey, will I be no one? What will happen to me? And of course, the mind cannot really encapsulate or understand what it means to go through that reference point. So we tend to project a lot of things onto it, and that's really natural to try and grasp what that shift of awakened awareness and reference point will generate for you. One of the fears is that you will just be this empty void, this knownness, this kind of lost state. It's true that when you have this awakening shift, this radical movement of reference point to pure awareness, you're going to have a huge dissolution of identity, and if you want to call it ego and attachments and I am statements and attachments to history and past life. It's like that reference point is going to go through all of this identification, and the depth to which it goes is unique for each individual. The really important thing is that you will stabilize that reference point over a period of time and go through an integration phase. And this is critically important because your entire physical and energetic system prior to that shift had been functioning on a certain kind of identification and sense of self, and that literally dissolves. And then you have to allow your body and your psyche to go through a very extensive energetic, physical and psyche shift and integrate and allow that reference point shift to embody in this system. And that takes time. Literally every system in your body, from your immune system, lymphatic system, respiratory system, cardiac system, all your systems have to shift into alignment and function around this new reference point. So that takes time. As that settles in, what starts to happen is that your personality blossoms. There's this misunderstanding that with awakening, you're going to lose your personality. You're going to be a personality-less being. And most of the time, that's not true. Your personality is precious. It's your unique expression of you as a fractal of the divine, you as a fractal of awareness. It's that unique luminosity. It's the way that you have light shining through the transparent surface of you into the world, and you don't lose that. What happens is that identity in awakening, in fact, through the whole Kundalini awakening journey, your personality is also being purified and liberated of its attachments, of its fears, of its conditioning, of its programming, of the ways that it is being showing up and expressing itself in the world that are not appropriate, that are not true, that are not honest, that are not integrous. And what happens with that big reference point shift is your personality also moves from serving more your conventional identity, your mind, your shadow elements. Your personality shifts as well, and will continue to purify to become a beautiful vessel for that awakened awareness to shine through. So in a way, I sometimes think you can think of it as your personality is like the clothing that the light of awareness wears. It's like the awareness gets to shine and to express and experience itself in this life through the lens and the beautiful clothing of your personality. And I love that. So basically your personality becomes liberated also, and also it finds its way into alignment and into devotion itself to awakening and being a tool and a skin in a way for awakening. Our personality also helps us to relate to other people after awakening, because a lot of the time, especially in the early phase of awakening, you feel a sort of deep, beautiful stillness and spaciousness and emptiness. And it's often like, well, how do I relate to anyone from here? What does it mean to relate from spaciousness? And our personality is almost like a garb that can help us and assist us to relate to others. And sometimes for me, I mean, it feels very natural. I don't really notice it anymore. But in the early days, I would feel like that my personality gave other people something to relate to, while I was still coming into how this consciousness would organize itself in its ability to relate to others. Because when I went through the end of my awakening, the Kundalini awakening, and jettisoned into that spacious and enormous shift, I literally didn't for a period of time have any roadmaps of how to relate from there, because it's like, for me at that time, I felt like a newborn baby. How do I do anything and everything from this awareness and stay true to it and stay integrous to it? And how do I not betray it? And that is a whole adventure of its own. And you kind of learn that by walking that infamous razor's edge. And when you don't get it right, you get a little nick. And then you climb back on that razor's edge and you just keep going until you get more and more skillful and more free. So I love my personality. It's fun. It's the thing I get to wear. It's the mechanism that this energy and this consciousness and freedom gets to express into the world, and the way that this particular life touches others. And this is my quirky, warm-hearted, feminine expression of awakening, and you will have your own. I actually love, especially supporting my students through awakening and then out the other side of the Kundalini shift. I really adore seeing how their personalities refine and shed what isn't actually authentically theirs. Their personality surrenders to consciousness, to the divine, to the deepest direction that's calling them, and the way it becomes very tender and open and sweet with the vibration of love and pure awareness. And each expression is unique. I see people that are very serious, and there's a kind of deep withdrawnness into sort of pure awareness, and they're here just to sit in that, and they're not particularly sociable. And then others that are more like social butterflies that express that sort of delight through their personality and a kind of extroversion that they've always had, and they don't lose that extroversion on the other side. It just becomes an extroverted expression of pure self. So you can trust your personality will just get a gorgeous renovation, become an absolutely glorious skin, very thin and transparent, yet very powerful and resilient, that your awakening can share itself with into the world.